Let's talk about the busy. I don't buy the busy aspect of it because you will make time for what you truly desire to do. And if you truly desire to eat clean and eat right, you will make time to plan those things out.
Faster than a speeding bullet.
I ran until my muscles burned and my veins pumped battery acid.
More powerful than a locomotive.
An idea is like a virus. Resilient. Highly contagious.
Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound.
Hey guys, Jared Moon here from the Betterhumanology podcast. I am actually taking a walk right now, recording this on my phone, so please forgive me if you get any wind noise here. But taking a walk trying to get some sun because I live in Dallas and we have literally been underwater for the last 2 months. And I just finished 15 push-ups for today's push-up grid. If you have no idea what I'm talking about on the push-up grid, go ahead and head over to betterhumanology.com and look at the show notes for today's podcast, and you'll know what that is. Anyway, today we have an interview with Thomas Cox. He's a CrossFit Games athlete and founder and curator of MealFit.co, a really cool company. He lives in Cookeville, Tennessee, really great guy, has a lot of good information on health, nutrition, and how you can add some quick recipes to your diet and be healthy through planning and, thinking out your nutrition a little bit more than maybe you have in the past. So listen to Thomas Cox today. Enjoy the Better Humanology podcast. And if you enjoyed today's podcast, please leave us a positive rating and review in iTunes. It would be much appreciated. All right, on to the interview with Thomas Cox. I think a lot of listeners want to know about nutrition, diet, the best approach, recipes, and all that stuff, and that is why today I have Thomas Cox from MealFit. So join me in welcoming him. Thomas, how's it going?
It is absolutely wonderful, Jared. How are you?
I am great, man. I'm really glad to have you on. I met Thomas up in Cookeville, Tennessee, doing an athlete cell camp where we did a lot of training. And I got to work out with him some and do a lot of stuff, and was introduced to MealFit and all of the stuff he has going on there, and it is super cool, and wanted to have him on the show for the podcast today to ask him a few questions about MealFit and nutrition in general. So I first want to start with, you giving us a little bit of your background and, what you're up to now.
Well, been in the CrossFit thing for about 5 years now. I really enjoy it. Got involved with it by a guy named Chip Pugh here in Cookeville, Tennessee. And so I got involved with him. Before that, I was running marathons. And before that, I played college football. So I've had a background in the strength and conditioning realm. Really enjoyed it when I was playing college football. That was something that I look forward to. A lot of guys in college don't look forward to lifting weights or working out training. And something I look forward to. I have a PE minor and a history major. So I got some of the nutrition stuff in college, not a lot. And then once you get involved in CrossFit, they borderline force it down your throat just because it is so important. And the people in CrossFit know the value of great nutrition. Whether you're a paleo guy and have a paleo thought process or a zone or anything like that, they've put a lot of emphasis on that. Now, so in turn, they kind of force feed you the importance of it. And so what they do is they give you tons and tons of research and tons of resources to inform yourself and make yourself better about those things, whether it be videos or podcasts or articles or different things like that. So I got into it that way and just started just feeding myself all of those different types of articles and things like that. And it's just developed into a love, and I really enjoy it. And I also get it from my father, who had a love for food when growing up. And so his love for food, kind of transitioned mine. And so I started cooking in college a lot. And so I just got involved in the food thing, and I really enjoyed it and enjoy helping people.
That's really awesome. And, I remember hearing your story when we were at that camp, and I was really taken on by it because, you're talking about how, changing your diet really increased performance. And that's something I want to talk to you about today is the principle behind increasing your performance, because I know that you want to limit the high glycemic index carbs, use low glycemic index carbs and fat as energy. Can you tell us about how that can help you perform better, look better, and feel better?
Well, here's the thing: your body can store about 2,000 to 3,000 kilocalories of energy from sugar, which that's all carbs is sugar. But your body can store up to 40,000 kilocalories of energy from fat. But here's the thing: people don't realize that just because you eat fat doesn't mean you're going to have that energy. You've got to make a switch in your body to use your fat as energy as opposed to using sugar as energy, because we all use sugar as our energy source right now. And until you can trick your liver, trick your body into doing that, you're going to be dependent on sugar or carbs for your energy source. Now, I'll say this, for the CrossFit athlete, can you go super low carb all the time? No, I don't think you can. But I do think you can get your carb sources from lower glycemic carbs so that you burn that slower as opposed to burning it up as soon as you take it in. And so I think that I like the way it makes me feel. I think the number one thing that people need to do is they don't need to just solely take someone's word for it. They need to try it. They need to try different things. One of the things that Brian McKenzie, a really good friend of mine, taught me is you have to experiment with yourself. You can't give advice about something if you don't do it yourself. Like for right now, I'm playing with this other diet right now that I'm trying to tinkering with and seeing if it works. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, that's fine. No big deal. I haven't lost, anything besides just changing the way I'm eating. So I'm constantly experimenting with different things, trying to see what works and what doesn't work for me. That way I can give first-hand advice on the things that I think are good and things that I think don't work as well. But I think it's from a looks standpoint, I think it's the way to go, simply because what you're going to do is you're going to consume less sugars, because what happens is when you consume sugar, once you consume enough to a certain point, your body stores that sugar as fat, and if you're not consuming a lot of sugar, your body's burning more, and so you're not taking in that sugar that will lead to fat. So
that's great. And I know that you said you have a background. You ran marathons. You played football in college, and I know you've been to the CrossFit Games as on a team. So how do you or how has the diet worked for you? Because I'm assuming you haven't always been on this diet, but you've been an athlete pretty much your whole life. So have you noticed a change switching the diet and still being an athlete?
Oh, there's no question. At 34 years old, I'm as strong as I've ever been. In the last 6 months to a year, I've hit a PR on just about every lift that I do. Hit a 275-pound snatch. Less than 6 months ago, I hit a 335-pound bench, which is a PR. Wow. 2 weeks ago, I'm hitting. There's no reason at 34 years old with 2 kids sleeping 6 hours a night, I should be hitting PRs. Part of the reason is I train smarter, but part of the reason is too is my nutrition has changed. My nutrition from 4 years ago has dramatically changed. Jackie and I, when we first got married 9 years ago, we would sit down and we would take a lot of French fries and fry them in a deep fryer and eat a whole plate of them together, and eat grilled chickens 3 nights a week. We'd eat grilled chicken and fried French fries. And, and that was 10 years ago. But now, I'm around the point of consuming 70 to 100, 110 grams of carbs a day and eating a lot of fat, and the carbs I am taking in are low glycemic carbs. And so I've looked better than I ever have, I feel like anyway, and I've performed better than I ever have at 32 to 34 than I was when I was 25. Now, part of that's training, but also part of that is the fact that I've totally taken a lot of the quote-unquote bad stuff out of my diet. And it's made a major difference. I mean, my mom's 66. She doesn't work out, but she's here in the last 3 months. She started working out, and she's changed her diet. And she's at 66 years old, she's lost 30 pounds in 3 months.
That's incredible.
Couldn't be more prouder of her. But part of that is because she's changed her diet. She changed the way she was eating. And so in turn, when you change the way you're eating and you start eating things that your body can use as efficient fuel, you will look, feel, and perform better. There's no question.
And how long, from your experience, does it take to make that transition? I know you said you can't just like all of a sudden start eating a ton of fat and expect to have all this extra energy. Your body has to go through that transition of using the fat for energy after you lower your carbohydrate intake. About how long do you say that switch takes in your experience?
I think that it depends on how strict you want to take it and how fast you want to get there. I think if you do what they call a ketogenic diet and you do that for 4 weeks, I think that you can get to that point in about 4 to 6 weeks. I think if you're going to do it slower, I think you need to take longer. I think that you've got to there's a toughness involved in this also, where you've got to sit there and you've got to tell yourself, you know what, it's going to be hard. You're going to feel rough a little bit. But once you get to those doldrums or those hard times, it will make it worth it on the back end of it. But I would say anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to 3 months to get yourself into that state where you can burn fat for energy efficiently.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, and that's something I always try to warn people about, because if they are used to a high level of performance and they've been using carbohydrates, I know it's different for everyone, but they might try it for a week or two and then see everything tank, and then they want to switch back immediately because they're like, this doesn't work. But it's important to know that it does take time for your body to actually make that switch and for your body to become more efficient. So I really appreciate it.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah. So I kind of want to jump into another topic, involving all this stuff, because a lot of my readers and listeners, a lot like you and I, want to train a lot, but we have our jobs, we have our families, our kids, and so we're pretty busy people, and that's some tips I want to get from you. What do you recommend to those who are extremely busy or who travel a lot but want to maintain a nice, healthy diet?
Let's talk about the busy. I don't buy the busy aspect of it, because you will make time for what you truly desire to do. And if you truly desire to eat clean and eat right, you will make time to plan those things out. So I say all that to say, I think for the busy person, what you've got to do is you've got to sacrifice some sleep. You've got to sacrifice some time that you would rather be doing other things to take care of those things and do those things. I think that if you don't have a plan for what you're going to eat on Thursday and it's Monday, I think you're wrong. Because what happens is life is busy. Everyone's busy. Everybody's got their own thing that they're doing. I'm not saying that they don't. But I'm saying if you don't have a plan, if you're not planning your food and what you're eating, you're really not that serious about what you're eating, or not that serious about making gains or making the performance. Plan out what you're doing if you're at home. Now, depending on how much you're traveling, if you're just an overnight traveler, meaning you go into one city and you come back home the next day, you can pack all your food. I really believe that you can get a nice cooler and some good Tupperware and pack your food. I tell people all the time, every gas station in America has a microwave that you can go in and warm food up in. Also, when you're eating out, like say you're a person that travels for 4 days at a time or 5 days at a time, you can eat clean in restaurants. There's no doubt. The whole purpose of a restaurant is to do what? Is to serve. You can go into just about any, you can go to McDonald's and you can eat fine in McDonald's. Now, the quality may not be the best in the world, but you can go into fast food restaurants, McDonald's and Burger King and Arby's and all those different types of places, and you can eat fine. Restaurants will give you what you want. They will give you meats. They will give you vegetables. They will give you salads. You can go into a restaurant and say, I don't want the burger, the patty, or the bread. I just want the patty. And they'll give you 3 patties. Or I just want the chicken from the chicken sandwich. And they'll give you those. You'll pay for them, but they'll give them to you. And sometimes they will look at you funny. I went to Panera Bread one time, and I said, I want 4 eggs and a half an avocado with 2 orders of bacon. And they looked at me like I was crazy. But they did it. They're going to do what you ask them to do. Why? Because they're there to serve you. The customer's always right. And if those are the things that you want, those are the things they will provide. Now, it may cost a little bit more, but in my opinion, it's worth it. It's worth it to do those things if that's what you truly desire. So I don't really buy the fact of traveling and things like that. if you really are serious about it, you'll make the time to either pack your food or to make great decisions while you're eating out.
Yeah, I like that. So it's not so much what can you do, it's just make it a priority. And I completely agree with making fitness and health a priority in your life because you only got one body. You only have one life, So that's great. And then recipes. I know that you are cooking all the time and you have a lot of great recipes on MealFit and all that stuff, but do you have maybe a go-to recipe which is, great for fueling your performance, or just maybe a favorite family recipe that you really like to cook often?
Well, one of the things that as my go-to thing is I have this friend of mine who has Hashimoto's, and we worked with him for a while, and he got where he had lost, around 70 pounds, and he came up with this recipe. I can't take credit for it. But we call it the Howard Taco Bowl. So what we do is we peel and roast sweet potatoes little chunks, and then we take bacon, we fry some bacon in a pan, and then once we fry the bacon in a pan, we take the ground beef and we start to brown the ground beef in the bacon grease. At this time, we've taken the bacon out of the pan, and what we're going to do is we take some ranch seasoning and some taco seasoning and mix in there with the ground beef. We crumble the bacon up in there, and we also take an onion and a couple bell peppers and put them in the food processor so that they're really, really fine so you can't taste the texture, and put them in that with the ground beef. So we've got ground beef, peppers, onions, ranch, seasoning, taco seasoning. Mix all that together with the bacon. Mix all that together, and then layer that over roasted sweet potatoes. It is a power-packed recipe that we absolutely, it's our go-to recipe if we're going to have a lot of people over. We'll roast a bunch of sweet potatoes, make a bunch of meat, and it's just, everybody loves it. You can put guacamole with it, you can put salsa with it, any of those different types of things, and it's a wonderful recipe that's got tons of nutrients, tons of good, good fat, good carbs, and good protein, and it's easy. It's not very hard at all.
Yeah, that sounds delicious. I'm going to have to try that this week. I really appreciate you sharing that recipe. All right, so now I'm going to move into the question that every guest on my show has to answer, and it's 100% open-ended. It can be whatever you want, and the question is, what is your best advice for becoming a better human?
This is really not very hard for me, simply because it's kind of the way I grew up and the way I believe. I think that a relationship with Jesus is the most important thing. A lot of people don't believe that. A lot of people have different beliefs as far as how they wake up every day, and that's the number one thing in my life. I think that Jesus was the only perfect person to ever live on this earth, and the more I can learn from him, the more I can learn about him and about his ways and who he was, the better I'm going to be. So my number one thing for becoming a better human is to be more like Jesus. And if I'm going to be more like him, I need to read about him, pray to him, have a relationship with him, because it's not just about knowing about Jesus, it's about knowing him personally and having that relationship with him. So best advice I can give for becoming a better human is to create that relationship with Jesus so that you can live a life that he would be proud of.
That's a really awesome answer, and I appreciate you sharing that. Really great stuff. And the best place for people to learn more about you and what you're doing?
The best place to find out about me is on all the social media stuff. My Twitter and Instagram is Thomas_MealFit, and that's MEALFIT. And my website is mealfit.co. It's .co, not .com. People get that confused a lot of times, but it's mealfit.co. And my email, all that kind of stuff's on there. You can have direct contact with me on that. And we're on all the social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that different types of Pinterest, all that different types of stuff. So any of those platforms, but the website is also always the best way to get me.
All right, that's great. I mean, that's all we have for the show. I really appreciate you being on the Better Humanology podcast. And until next time, Thomas.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're glad to be on here with you, Jared.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Better Humanology podcast. If you want to know about any of the resources we talked about, head on over to betterhumanology.com and check out the podcast show notes. Likewise, we have betterhumanology.com/toolbox, where you can find every resource that we've ever talked about on the podcast, So go check it out. Until next time, here's to becoming a better human.
Your best. Losers always whine about their best.